Lydia was 25 years old, and she had learned to carry heavy weights on her shoulders without complaint. She worked as a cook at one of the biggest restaurants in the city, a place called Benedetti's. 6 years had passed since she started there. At first she washed dishes and chopped vegetables while the real cooks barked orders at her. Over time, through long nights and burned fingers, she rose to become a regular cook. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Each day she put on her white apron, tied her hair back, and stepped into the loud, steaming kitchen that smelled of garlic, onions, and roasting meat. Another double shift? Her friend Marissa, a waitress, often asked with raised eyebrows. Lydia always nodded. Yeah. Family needs the money. Her words carried both pride and exhaustion. The truth was, Lydia almost never rested. She worked from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, came back at 5 and stayed until 11 at night, or later if the restaurant was full. When do you sleep? Marissa teased once. Lydia gave a weak smile. Between breaths. 6 days a week, this was her routine. On Sundays, if she was lucky, she had a day off. But lately, even those rare days were stolen by her family's demands. Her parents depended on her income, and her younger sister, Camille, had been sent to state university in the neighboring state. The bills were endless. Mortgage, tuition, books, and Camille's pocket money. Lydia gave nearly all of her paycheck to her mother every month. Her parents often told her that Camille was the one with potential. They reminded Lydia that she had chosen a small cooking course instead of fighting for a real college degree. You already have your path, Lydia, her father said firmly one evening. Your sister needs a chance at hers. Lydia stayed quiet. She wanted Camille to succeed, so she kept working. She gave up her dream of moving into her own apartment. She gave up buying clothes, going on trips, or even treating herself to a proper dinner. Her room was still the same small childhood bedroom with a twin bed and a dresser with broken drawers. It's okay, she whispered to herself some nights. This is what good daughters do. But cracks began to show in her quiet endurance. Camille rarely spoke to her except to ask for money. Her parents barely asked about her long hours at the restaurant. The only time they smiled warmly was when Camille came home from college, full of stories about classes, professors, and friends. Lydia would watch them from the corner, feeling invisible. Then one Tuesday night she dragged herself home after a double shift. Her bag dropped heavily by the door. What's going on? She asked, seeing her family sitting at the kitchen table, laughing as if everything in life was perfect. Camille grinned. Oh, Lydia. My 21st birthday is next week. I've decided to celebrate here at home with 25 of my friends. At first, Lydia thought they were joking. That's nice, she said softly. Maybe a small family dinner? Her mother's smile widened. Oh no, darling. Camille's friends are coming here. You'll need to cook all the food, clean the house, and take care of everything. Pretend you're happy. Lydia froze. The exhaustion from years of double shifts pressed down like an iron weight. I don't agree to that, she whispered. Camille's face twisted. You're so selfish. You don't love me. You want to ruin my birthday. Their father's voice cut through the room. Lydia, you will do what we tell you to do. Lydia looked at their faces. Her sister's anger, her mother's expectation, her father's command, and for the first time, something inside her cracked. Lydia clenched her fists but kept her voice calm. If Camille wants a big party, she can have it at a restaurant. Her mother laughed sharply as if Lydia had made a joke. We don't have money for a restaurant. Unless you convince your boss to host it for free, this party will be here. And you will cook. Lydia's lips parted in disbelief. That's not possible. He won't work at a loss. Her mother's smile disappeared instantly. Then either you pay for the restaurant party, or you cook and clean for Camille's guests. Those are your choices. Lydia felt her stomach twist. Was this truly all they saw her as, someone to work, pay, and serve? She didn't scream or cry. Instead, she walked silently upstairs, entered her small bedroom and locked the door. She sat on the bed and stared at the wall. Voices drifted up from the kitchen. Camille whining, her parents murmuring, planning without her. Lydia pressed her palms against her eyes. For years she had given everything, her money, her time, her health. Now they demanded her last scrap of rest. She whispered into the quiet, they don't see me. They only see what I can give them. The words tasted bitter but true. That night she remembered her friend Marissa's warnings. Marissa had often shaken her head. Your family is using you, Lydia. You're their bank, their maid, their cook, all in one. That's not love. Lydia always defended them. You don't understand. That's just how we are. But Marissa had leaned closer one evening and said firmly, no. You're scared to admit it's not okay. Lydia thought of that now. The words cut deeper than before. Maybe Marissa was right. 3 weeks earlier, Marissa had mentioned her lease was up and her roommate was moving out. If you know anyone looking for a place, let me know, she said casually. Lydia had smiled sadly. I can't think of anyone. But sitting in her locked room, replaying Camille's shouts and her mother's demands, Lydia realized something. He could be that person. She grabbed her phone with trembling fingers and dialed. Marissa answered quickly. Lydia? You sound upset. What happened? Lydia spilled everything. Camille's party, her parents' threats, the years of sacrifice. Marissa's voice turned sharp. That's it. You're moving in with me. No arguments. Do you really mean that? Lydia asked, her voice small. Of course I mean it, Marissa replied. You'll save money, you'll breathe again, and you'll finally live your own life. I've been telling you this for months. Lydia's heart pounded. When? She whispered. Tomorrow morning. You're off, right? Pack your things. I'll be waiting. Lydia sat frozen, staring at the wall. Tomorrow. Could she do it? Could she finally leave? For the first time in years she felt a flicker of hope. That night she packed in silence. Clothes, a few books, some personal items. Everything she owned fit into 3 cardboard boxes. She stacked them carefully inside her closet so her parents wouldn't notice. Around midnight there was a knock on her door. Lydia, her mother's voice came softly. Lydia stayed still. Can we talk? Lydia forced calm into her voice. I'm tired, Mom. Tomorrow. Her mother hesitated, then added, you need to stop acting like a child and help us plan Camille's party. It's important. Lydia's lips curved into a sad smile in the dark. We'll discuss tomorrow. Her mother left, unaware of the storm brewing. Lydia barely slept. Her mind raced with doubts and questions. What if I'm wrong? What if they truly need me? What if I'm selfish? But then she remembered Camille's screaming face, her father's cold command, her mother's ultimatum. She remembered the $62,000 she had given away in 2 years, the years of double shifts, the life she had never lived. By morning, her doubts turned into quiet determination. At 6 o'clock, before anyone stirred, she carried the boxes one by one to her car. The house was still. She left her key on the kitchen counter, breathed deeply, and walked out without looking back. When she arrived at Marissa's apartment, the sun was just rising. Marissa stood outside with 2 coffees in hand. You did it, she said, eyes wide with pride. Together they carried the boxes upstairs. Lydia's new room was small but clean. She placed her clothes in the dresser, her books on a shelf, and for the first time she felt like she was shaping her own space. So, how does it feel? Marissa asked, leaning against the doorframe. Lydia exhaled slowly. Scary, she admitted. But good. Really good. They celebrated with sushi and beer. Lydia laughed more that afternoon than she had in years. But peace didn't last long. By 2 o'clock her phone buzzed nonstop. First her mother, then her father, then Camille. Lydia ignored them all, sipping her drink. Marissa raised an eyebrow. They probably found your room empty. Lydia checked the voicemails later. Her mother, where are you? Your room is empty. Her father, come home now. We need to talk about Camille's party. Camille, how could you do this to me? My birthday is in 5 days. Lydia showed Marissa the messages. Marissa shook her head. See? Still about them. Not about you. The next day Lydia went to work as usual. She was chopping vegetables when her boss, Mr. Benedetti, walked in. Your parents are here, he said gently. They want to talk. Lydia's chest tightened. Of course, they knew where to find her. Do I have to? She asked quietly. No, he said. But maybe it's better to end it. She sighed and followed him to the dining area, where her parents sat looking tense. They were led into his office for privacy. As soon as the door closed, her mother burst out. What do you think you're doing, Lydia? Camille's party is in 4 days and you disappear like this. Lydia straightened her back. I moved out, she said. Her father's eyebrows knit together. Moved out? What do you mean you moved out? Lydia met his eyes. I mean, I don't live at your house anymore. I have my own place now. Her mother's face flushed red. This is ridiculous. You need to come home. Camille's friends are coming and you have to plan the menu and clean the house. Lydia almost laughed. Do you seriously think I left just to do more work for you? No. I left because I'm done being treated like a servant. Her father leaned forward, his voice cold. So what is this really about? Lydia straightened. It's about me taking control of my life. I won't pay your mortgage anymore. I won't pay Camille's tuition. You'll have to figure it out yourselves. The color drained from their faces. Her mother clutched her chest. You can't do that to us. We depend on you. Lydia's voice stayed steady. You should have thought about that before you treated me like nothing more than a wallet. You shouldn't be so greedy counting money like that, her mother snapped. Lydia's jaw tightened. Greedy? I've given you over $62,000 in 2 years. That was my life, my future, and you never once said thank you. She stood and opened the office door. I'm finished. Don't come to my workplace again. Her mother opened her mouth to protest, but before she could, Mr. Benedetti stepped into the doorway. Is everything all right here, Lydia? She nodded firmly. My parents were just leaving. Her mother tried again. We're not done talking, but Mr. Benedetti's voice grew stern. Actually, you are. This is a business, not your personal living room. I'll have to ask you to leave. When they refused to move, he called security. 2 guards walked in ready. Escort them out, he ordered. Lydia watched silently as her parents were led away, her mother hissing angrily under her breath. When the door closed, Mr. Benedetti looked at Lydia. You okay, kid? She exhaled. Yeah. For once, I think I am. That night, she returned to Marissa's apartment feeling exhausted but lighter. How did it go? Marissa asked. Lydia dropped onto the couch. I told them everything. I cut it off. They're furious, but it's over. Her phone buzzed endlessly, but she ignored it. By the next morning, there were 17 missed calls and dozens of texts. Lydia, come home. We need to talk. We can work this out. Camille's birthday is ruined. Marissa scanned them and shook her head. See? They still don't care about you. Just what you can do for them. That evening, Lydia opened her banking app and canceled the automatic transfers she had set up for her parents' mortgage and Camille's tuition. Her fingers trembled as she pressed confirm. Felt like cutting a chain. She called the university and explained that she would no longer be paying for Camille's education. From now on, she said, you need to work with my parents directly. When she hung up, she sat in silence, staring at her hands. Then a smile spread slowly across her face. The money she earned would finally be hers. For the next week, her family bombarded her with calls. First, guilt. We miss you so much. We need you. Then bargaining. You don't have to cook for the party. You can just attend. One text from her mother read, you'll be the guest of honor at the party. Lydia showed it to Marissa, who snorted. Guest of honor? That means watching your sister's friends eat food someone else paid for. Some honor. Lydia laughed and blocked their numbers one by one. 2 weeks of silence followed. They were the most peaceful weeks Lydia had experienced in years. She still worked hard at Benedetti's, but without the crushing weight of supporting 3 other people. She didn't need double shifts anymore. She took her scheduled days off. She bought herself a pair of new shoes and went out to dinner with Marissa. For the first time, she felt what it was like to live as a young woman, not as a tired machine. One afternoon, while she was prepping vegetables, her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. It was her Aunt Clara, her mother's sister. Lydia almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Hello. Clara's voice was urgent. Lydia, we need to talk. Your mother told me everything. Meet me at the coffee shop downtown. Lydia agreed reluctantly. When she arrived, Clara sat with her hands folded, face serious. Your mother says you abandoned them, Clara began. She says you're selfish and they're desperate now. Lydia listened, then leaned forward. Did she tell you I supported them for 6 years? Did she tell you I paid for Camille's college and their mortgage? Clara frowned. She said you got upset over a birthday party. Lydia let out a humorless laugh. It wasn't about the party. It was about years of being used. I worked myself to exhaustion while they treated me like I didn't matter. Clara's eyes narrowed. But families help each other. They raised you. Now it's your turn to support them. Lydia's voice stayed calm. I won't support people who treat me like dirt. They never respected me and they never cared about my life. Clara leaned back, her face red. They're struggling now. Your father took a second job. Your mother works extra shifts. Camille even had to drop out for now. You could make things easier for them, Lydia. Lydia shook her head. That's their responsibility. Not mine. Clara's lips pressed into a thin line. I can't believe how selfish you are. If this is who you are now, then I don't want anything to do with you. Lydia sipped her coffee slowly. That's your choice, Aunt Clara. I'm not changing my mind. Clara stood sharply, grabbed her purse and stormed out without another word. Lydia sat quietly for a while, letting the noise of the cafe wash over her. Instead of sadness, she felt strangely relieved. One more chain had snapped. One more voice of guilt was gone. Weeks passed, and Lydia heard updates about her family through cousins and family friends. Her parents managed to pay their mortgage, though they were both working long hours now. Camille moved back home and took a job at a retail store while saving to return to college. Some relatives criticized Lydia. How could you leave your family? They asked. But others, especially the younger ones, whispered encouragement. Her cousin Evan told her quietly, you did the right thing. They were taking advantage of you. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty. Her life began to bloom in ways she hadn't imagined. Living with Marissa was easy and joyful. They split bills evenly, cooked meals together and laughed over late-night TV shows. At work, Lydia's efforts were finally noticed. One afternoon, Mr. Benedetti pulled her aside. Next year I want to promote you to sous chef. Bigger paycheck, more responsibility. You've earned it. Lydia's chest filled with pride. For once, she was moving forward in her own career instead of standing still for others. She also allowed herself something new, rest. No more endless double shifts unless absolutely necessary. She planned her first vacation in years. A simple road trip to the coast with Marissa. It's not fancy, Lydia told her, but it's for us. Just because we want to. Marissa grinned. That's the best reason of all. Lydia sometimes lay awake at night, thinking of the life she left behind. She had stayed, she would still be trapped, working, giving, exhausted. Now she was free. For the first time in her adult life, she was living for herself. The weeks turned into months and Lydia settled into her new life. Each paycheck felt like freedom. She began saving for the first time, building a small emergency fund. Sometimes she treated herself to things she had always denied. New clothes, good shoes, even a cooking class on French pastries. One Saturday she held a warm croissant she had baked with her own hands and whispered, "This is mine. I did this for me." It was a small thing, but to her it felt like winning a war. Her parents, however, didn't stop trying. Every so often a relative would call her, saying her parents missed her or that Camille wanted to apologize. Lydia learned to listen politely, then end the call with the same calm words, "I wish them well, but I'm not coming back." After each call she felt stronger. She knew their apologies were just another attempt to pull her back into the old trap. At Benedetti's, her promotion came through sooner than expected. Mr. Benedetti called her into his office one evening. "Lydia, you've been consistent, hardworking and loyal. From next month you're sous chef." Her eyes widened. "Really?" He nodded. "You've earned it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Lydia walked out of his office with tears in her eyes. For years she had been invisible in her own family. But here in the hot chaos of the kitchen, someone finally saw her worth. With her new income, Lydia started thinking bigger. She opened a savings account for future goals. Maybe her own restaurant one day or culinary school abroad. She told Marissa one evening as they shared pizza on the couch. "I've spent my life giving away everything. Now I want to invest in myself." Marissa raised her glass of soda. To Lydia, the woman who finally said no. They clinked glasses, laughter bubbling between them. One evening, months after the dramatic break, Lydia bumped into Camille at the grocery store. Camille looked thinner with tired eyes. She was stocking shelves. "Lydia," she said quietly. Lydia turned, her face calm. "Hi, Camille." Camille hesitated. "I had to drop out of school. I'm saving to go back. It's hard." Lydia nodded slowly. "I know it is. But it's your journey. You'll figure it out." Camille bit her lip. "You're really not coming back, are you?" Lydia shook her head. "No. Not this time." After that brief encounter, Lydia felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. She still loved her sister, but she knew love didn't mean sacrificing herself anymore. That night she told Marissa, "I saw Camille today. She's struggling, but maybe that's what she needs to grow." Marissa put a hand on her shoulder. "And maybe that's what you needed too, to stop carrying everyone else." Lydia realized she no longer felt guilty. For the first time she felt free of the invisible chains. Relatives kept whispering. Some said she was selfish. Others quietly admired her courage. Lydia stopped caring what they thought. "They weren't there at 2 a.m. when I dragged myself home after a double shift," she told Marissa one evening. "They didn't live in that small bedroom giving away every cent. They don't get to judge me." Marissa grinned. "Exactly. Your story is yours now." The next year Lydia took her first real vacation. She and Marissa drove to the coast, walking along the sand with salty air in their lungs and the sound of waves crashing. Lydia stood at the shoreline, her feet in the cold water, and whispered to herself, "This is living." She laughed freely, unburdened. For the first time she wasn't thinking about who needed money, who needed cooking, who needed saving. She was only thinking about herself. And it felt right. Looking back, Lydia sometimes wondered what would have happened if she had stayed. She knew the answer. She would still be in her small room, working herself into exhaustion, planning parties for her sister, and never being seen. Leaving had been the hardest choice, but also the best one. She had drawn a line and said enough. That line saved her life. Lydia's story became a quiet lesson she carried in her heart. Family love should never be a prison, and sacrifice should never erase a person's worth. She learned that setting boundaries wasn't cruelty, it was survival. As she stepped into her new future with a career that was growing and a life she was finally proud of, Lydia smiled. "I don't regret it," she told Marissa one evening. "Not a single bit. For the first time I'm living for me." Months later, Lydia sat at her small kitchen table with a cup of coffee, reviewing her budget. For once, the numbers brought peace instead of panic. Rent, groceries, savings, everything balanced. She even set aside a little for leisure. "Imagine that," she whispered with a smile. "Money left for me." The thought felt almost unreal after years of scraping by. Her parents eventually stopped calling. They were busy managing their own lives. Her father working extra shifts, her mother stretching every paycheck, Camille juggling retail work while saving for school. Through mutual relatives, Lydia learned they no longer spoke of her much. At first she felt a pang of loss. But then she realized she wasn't missing from their lives, she was finally free from their demands. At work, Lydia grew into her role as sous chef. She trained new cooks, experimented with recipes, and earned the respect of the staff. One evening Mr. Benedetti pulled her aside. "You've changed, Lydia. More confident. More alive." She smiled. "I guess I finally stopped living for everyone else." He nodded knowingly. That's when real growth begins. Her friendship with Marissa blossomed too. They celebrated birthdays with laughter instead of guilt, decorated their apartment with photos and plants, and built a home filled with warmth. Lydia sometimes sat on the couch after a long shift, listening to music and sipping tea, marveling at how simple moments could feel so rich when they belonged only to her. Looking back, Lydia knew her decision to leave had been the turning point of her life. She had given years, money, and pieces of her soul to people who never saw her. But when she finally said no, she discovered something far greater, herself. The lesson was clear. Love should never mean erasing your own worth. Family bonds are precious, but they should never be chains. With her future ahead, Lydia whispered one last truth to herself. "I chose me, and that saved me."